Welcome to the Vikings Now. I am your host, Patrick Seatman. Pretty exciting video today. I got questions from our fans and from our viewers from Vikings Now by Chat Sports. I'm going to be breaking down a couple of questions you guys had for me, some rumors we'll be diving into heading into this great Chicago Bears game this Sunday. But first, if you guys don't remember, it's Kirktober out here. If you guys know, you know. You got this sweet edit of Kirk Cousins, Kirktober. I'll be diving into kind of the Kirktober phenomenon a little bit later in today's video. But my goal, we are closing in on 6,000 subscribers. We are at 5,956 right now, only 44 more subs. I want to hit 6,000 by game day, by the Chicago Bears game. And hey, you don't want to jinx the Vikings' chances of getting a victory on Sunday. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get to 6K by the Bears game on Sunday. That is my goal. Now, starting off, Skull to Bull. I love that name, by the way. Do you think the Vikings could actually trade for M. Peters? I'm assuming he's talking about Marcus Peters. So Marcus Peters, this past week against the Baltimore Ravens, he got into an altercation with Jim Harbaugh. And I do think with this Vikings kind of cornerback room, the way it's set up right now, I do think bringing in a guy like Marcus Peters could be huge. Listen, I'm a fan of the way Patrick Peterson, Cameron Dantzler have been playing so far. Shannon Sullivan's been pretty good in the slot. But with Andrew Booth Jr. still dealing with that quad injury, and a Caleb Evans, still that fourth-round rookie, he's still got a ton of raw talent that he needs to untap. I think bringing in a guy like Marcus Peters, a veteran in this league, could be huge. And then I'll show the photo right now of Marcus Peters and John Harbaugh going at each other at the end of the Ravens-Bills game. This is probably what Skull the Bull was talking about when asking me why the Vikings should trade for Marcus Peters, because they did have this altercation on Sunday in their game. But frankly, I'm all in on bringing in a guy like Marcus Peters. Hothead, all this talk about him, he's still a very good corner in the league. I think the Vikings defense, they could use a boost like Marcus Peters. Bring some energy, bring some flair to that side of the football, because frankly, they need it. We'll talk about the defense a little more later, but they have not been up to par with the offense. Now, what say you? This will be the pinned comment on today's video. I want to get your guys' kind of take the pulse of the fan base a little bit, because when I talked about Marcus Peters earlier this week, it was kind of 50-50. So I'll make this the pinned comment. Type T for trade or type P for pass if you would consolidate assets and go trade for Marcus Peters. Now, next question coming in from There It Go. He says, how impressed have you been with Christian Darrisaw? I mean, Christian Darrisaw has been fantastic this year. Look at his PFF grades. We can go to the nerds over there. 78.1 overall. But that pass blocking grade, that's obviously what jumps out to me. You're a left tackle for a guy like Kirk Cousins. That pass blocking grade's going to have to be fantastic. At 77.4, shout out to Christian Darrisaw. He's been absolutely balling. And do the Vikings finally have a franchise left tackle? I think they do. I think Darrisaw could look to be an all-pro in the future. We had Albert Breer this offseason compare Darrisaw to Trent Williams. I love the comparison. Very similar body types, very similar to the way they play the left tackle position. And is this the Vikings' best tackle since one of my favorite Vikings of all time, big, nasty Phil Loadholt. Phil Loadholt was obviously the right tackle for the Vikings back in the day, but Phil Loadholt, 6'8", 370 pounds. He was an absolute monster for the Vikings. I think Darrisaw, honestly, and I love Brian O'Neill as well, but I think Darrisaw, he is the best tackle since Phil Loadholt on this team. I'll ask you guys again, do you guys think, is this Darrisaw's Pro Bowl season? We know he was in the offseason, put that as the goal for himself, is I want to make a Pro Bowl this year. He was very adamant about it. He was very vocal about it. I think he's certainly on his way right now. Second year, first year Pro Bowler. Type Y for yes, type N for no if you think Christian Darrisaw will be a Pro Bowler. Now, next question, another great name. Down goes GB. Hopefully you're talking about Green Bay. But he says, could the Vikes add another wide receiver? I saw BR, Bleacher Report, had us getting Denzel Mims. I actually saw this too. Now, I want to throw up the Vikings wide receiver depth chart real quick, because honestly, Denzel Mims, where does he fit? Justin Jefferson, no real comment I need to make about him. He's holding down wide receiver 1. Adam Thielen, he'll hold down wide receiver 2. Wide receiver 3, that will be held down by KJ Osborne. So you're saying, could we add Mims to be the 4 or 5 on this roster? I just don't think it's likely. This doesn't really make sense to me. Jalen Reagor and Jalen Naylor, I think, are solid wide receivers. And the kind of point that Bleacher Report was making, The Vikings have around 1.5 in free cap space right now, and Denzel Mims only brings on a $1.2 million cap hit. So they were saying, could the Vikings be a team, go bring in another weapon? We know the Rams last year bringing in Odell, kind of the similar connection with Kevin O'Connell, bringing in another weapon like Denzel Mims. Honestly, this doesn't make sense to me. I would rather get the touches to guys like KJ Osborne and Jalen Reagor over Denzel Mims. So I'm out on Denzel Mims coming to Minnesota. But I want to give a shout out to our proud sportsbook sponsor on today's show, BetUS. Listen, if you want the best deals, if you want to make the best bets, head over to BetUS, go to chatsports.com/bet, and use promo code CHAT125. You'll get a 125% deposit bonus. What does that mean? Put $100 in, they'll just hand you $125 free to play with. And hey, if you want to go bet on our Minnesota Vikings this week, they're taking on, as I said earlier, the Chicago Bears. Right now, sitting at a 7.5-point favorite. A little too high for my liking. I don't know if I would touch the spread for the Vikings. I would take the over in this game. I think the Vikings offense is going to put up a lot of points. And honestly, I don't really think this Vikings defense, I think they're going to have their hands full with this Bears running game. So I will go over in Vikings money line. But head over to chatsports.com, use promo code CHAT125, and get your 125% deposit bonus. Next question. We mentioned them at the top of the show. I had to throw this in here, Vinny D. Will we see Kirktober in full effect this season? So if you guys don't know about Kirktober and kind of where it started from, I'm sure most of you guys knew. It started back actually in the 2019 season in Kirk's first year. But if we bring it back to last year, Kirktober, this was fantastic. The Vikings started off the season 0-2 last year, and then they were able to get on a kind of a winning streak in October. It was because of this guy. He had a 91.7 quarterback rating, just over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns and 2 picks. We know Kirk, he's been fantastic in the month of October throughout his time with the Minnesota Vikings. And then if you look at the Vikings' upcoming schedule right now, we got some big-time games on the docket. We got the Bears coming to town this Sunday. Then we're traveling to Miami and taking on potentially a Teddy Bridgewater-led Miami Dolphins team. And then the Cardinals are coming into town. Listen, these are 3 big-time games, and I think Kirk, he's going to be a huge reason why we win or why we lose some of these games. So, like I said, these are big games coming up. But it's October. And if you guys noticed, on all of those starts, they're all at 12 p.m. They're no primetime game. It's no Monday night football game. The Vikings, we're sitting at 3-1 right now. Honestly, if I'm looking at those 3 games, my goal and my expectations for this team has to be 6-1. Because the Packers the next 2 weeks, if we're kind of looking at our division rival, looking at that battle, they're 3-1 as well. And they have the Giants and the frickin' Jets the next 2 weeks. Expect them to get victories, but I want to see what you guys have to say. Predict the Vikings record the rest of October. I just showed you the games. Bears, Dolphins, Cardinals. We're already 1-0. We already beat the Saints. So what do you think? How will the Vikings hold off or finish out this month during the rest of October? Go down and predict the Vikings record the rest of October. Now, First Cousins, he says, what is the Vikings' biggest weakness and can they fix it? That's a great name. I'm sure you're referring to Shannon Sharp on Undisputed. First Cousins. So what is the Vikings' biggest weakness and can they fix it? I got 2 simple kind of answers for you. It's the defense, and yes, they can fix it. I think a huge factor on why the Vikings have not been able to get going so far in this season is because of Danielle Hunter. And if you look at his first 4 games, honestly, this is shocking to me. He's got 1 sack throughout the first 4 matchups. For Danielle Hunter, I mean, that's just way below his standard that he's been playing with. But I want to focus on the win rate. Danielle Hunter in his career has been sitting around at a 14.5 win rate against other tackles. Week 1, 9.1. Week 2, 3.1. Week 3, 8.8. And Week 4, 4.2. I think the key to this defense is getting Danielle Hunter going. And he is the key that will kind of get this juice going because, listen, you have edges flying off the edge, and you have all these guys, and it just really helps the secondary kind of lock down. And if you can say to the secondary, hey, you only need to hold on for 3 seconds in comparison to 5, I think that's the effect that Danielle Hunter can bring. Listen, to Darius Smith, he's been great so far, but if we could have those 2-headed monsters coming from left to right, I think once Danielle Hunter gets going, this defense will fully get ramped up. So, yes, I do think it is fixable, but it's definitely the weakest spot on this roster so far. Hey, if you guys made it to the end of the video, you guys are real ones. I really appreciate the ones that make it all the way. Listen to all my thoughts on the Minnesota Vikings. Big time game coming up this week, and if you guys aren't subscribed, The goal is 6K. Go down and hit that subscribe button. And if you did make it to the end of the video, give me a real one down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let's go Vikes.